If I'm ordered, I'd shoot you like a dog if I get the order. And I wouldn't think anything.
Count Tolstoy, in his book, he quotes you as saying, even now the full story has never come out.
Of course it hasn't.
What is the full story? Do you know the full story?
Full story, handing over, giving them back to Russia.
And to the Yugoslavs also?
Hmm?
And also to the Yugoslavs?
Precisely. Quite correct.
By what you mean by that?
I mean by handing over to an ally women, children, and people. No more, no less.
We sent these people to the higher headquarters, right up to the General Keithley, commanding 5th Corps. But either he didn't believe them, or else he thought that the necessity to carry out the orders he was given from further up were dominant. And look, one mustn't be too sentimental about the fate of something like 30,000 people, including women and children.
Were there also women and children in with the people that were...
Yes, there were women and children and old men and sometimes babies who were in these convoys which we organized.
Then suddenly, lorries, empty lorries, military lorries, British, came along, one after the other, stopped in front. My sister and myself were watching behind the fence. They were stopping in front of this little station. The military police jeeps were there, and that's the crucial point. And they were loading onto these lorries, about 30 or 40 soldiers each. All those people, very young ones, they were very young, 18, 19, 20, Ustasha and Donomans, onto these lorries. One after the other, one after, and that took the whole day. So this is why I say there must have been many of them, because the lorries must have been 100 perhaps, one after the other one. And these boys, we were waving to them and we were asking them, where are you going? And they said, we go to a military camp. That's what they were told. And that's the whole lot which went to Blackwood.
Did they say?
Directly, I think. They took them there to kill them.
Did you think that those people marching across the bridge were going to their death at the time?
Yes.
Pretty absolute.
Cool, yes, quite.
What was your feelings at the time about that, knowing that these men, women, and children would be killed?
Not my orders. Not my order.
You had just received your orders and that was it then?
That is exactly it. Befehl is befehl. Orders are orders. I had no feeling whatever.
As a soldier in that time, what was the general attitude towards the Croatians? How did you consider them?
Foreign people.
I think particularly the people that came up from Yugoslavia and that sort of direction were a fierce and unmannerly lot of people who I don't think our soldiers liked very much, and just wished that they'd be allowed to chase them back into Yugoslavia.
Yeah. They were not interested in all these people. It was not their business. And they said, what should we worry about these people who are second-rate people, who are not British? And their point of view to the Eastern people, say the Russians, say any Slavs, anything which was east of Germany, was the same as Germans. As all these people were for them second-rate people, you know.
So you're saying here that you believe that the British were racist and the
oh yes, absolutely racist. They didn't have a theory. They didn't have racist theories. They had a racist practice. No, but they would talk about humanity as a concept, but they couldn't imagine that a Pole or a Croatian or a Russian could be the same as a British.
Do you think that there's a possibility that one of the other factors that we haven't considered yet is that maybe it was because many of these people were Slavs, that they came from nationalities that most people and surely most British soldiers didn't understand. They were considered foreign people. They were somewhat of a nuisance. Do you think that possibly that also had a factor in facilitating the handovers?
It's possible. I mean, a lot of these people did look pretty sort of cutthroat, as you might say. I think the people that the British soldiers were more sorry for than anybody were the women and children who accompanied them, and they thought that this was terrible, this sort of refugee problem, and they were prepared to do things for the women and the children which they wouldn't have been prepared to do for the men quite often. I think, I suppose you could say that that the British have always looked a bit sort of sideways at foreigners and reckoned that they were probably superior to any foreigners, and that the foreigners had curious ways of behaving. In fact, I mean, the soldiers were, I think, got on very well with the Austrians, shall we say, but then they were people who hadn't been disturbed much, and they didn't look like refugees. They were just living there, the same as they lived there all the war.
Well, of course, if people are told the truth about where they're going, and they refuse to go because they will be killed, the only way to get them onto the trains is to lie to them about their destination. And I don't think that Alexander quite foresaw what would happen on the ground. He thought it was a nice formula. Let them go back if they want to. But don't force anybody. And if they had been put to them in that way, they would have all refused to have gone back. So he didn't really give a clear order on that point, and it was the dirty business was left to the corps to circumvent that order by lying to them about their destination.
Because they machine gunned them.
But did you hear the machine guns?
Yes.
On the Yugoslav side of the border?
Oh, for Christ's sake. You think I like to talk about fucking kids being shot down?
Were you given orders on May 18th from Corps headquarters to the effect that all Croatians in the area who were in the area at the time should be sent to Rosenbach via the Welsh Guard Brigade, and that they in turn would be turned over to Tito's partisans?
Yes, of course, the orders didn't come direct to us from Corps. It came down the chain of command, and so we received the orders from 6th Armoured Division. And we first got the order to which you refer on the 16th of May, but told not to put it immediately into action. And it was acted upon 3 days later, on the 19th of May, when we began to evacuate from Rosenbach and another small train station called Maria Elland the first batches of the Croats. And then for the next 5 days we organized train loads of Croats to go to Yugoslavia.
Were the repatriated Croatians and other ethnic groups called at the time anti-Yugoslavs, were they to be told exactly what the destination was?
No. We received specific orders from our division that they weren't to be told where they were going. Or, and then as naturally they were very anxious that they shouldn't be sent back to Yugoslavia and suspected it. We were told a little later, only a few days later, that we were to tell them definitely they were going back to Italy. In the case of the Serbs, to join their friends, other Chetniks, at Palmanova in northeast Italy. And this lie, which we told with the greatest reluctance, was ordered from above. And of course, if they'd learnt the truth, that they were going back to Yugoslavia where they didn't expect to survive, none of them would have consented to mount the railway trucks. But as they trusted us that we were telling them the truth, there wasn't much trouble about loading them on.
Tito slaughtered. Tito hadn't got any time for people in his way. That bastard slaughtered.
And there were 6,000 of them, and we were ordered to send them too. I remember asking for advice from the division, are we to send the civilians as well? And the answer came back, yes, if they are camp followers. And then I asked, what is a camp follower? And the reply was, a camp follower is any person, however young or whatever sex, who is dependent upon the soldiery for their maintenance, for their livelihood, I think the word was. Well, that meant everybody. It's one of the things, it's one of the most disgraceful operations the British troops have ever been asked to undertake. And we felt that at the time, and many of us expressed it at the time. I expressed it in writing, in a public document, and was reprimanded for doing so.
What was the conversation between the ordinary British soldier about this whole business?
Dirty.
They didn't like doing it.
No. A dirty business in which we did not wish to be mixed up. A dirty, bloody political business in which we did not want to be.
Were you given a reason at all, or just given the orders as a low-level soldier?
We were ashamed of it.
Did your superiors ever give you a reason for the repatriations of these people? Or did they just...
We were ashamed. We still are.
Okay, well, thanks very much for allowing me to interview, and I really do appreciate it.
We're ashamed of it.
Okay, thank you.
We're ashamed of one thing. And we haven't got the guts to say fuck off.
Yeah. Well.
Jesus Christ. History. If we had to do it again, I suppose we would.